Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kelly Green Hour. It's our schedule release show. Yes, I know we're a week late, but we've given everybody a chance to digest the schedule, what games you're interested in, what games you maybe go into, and we will also touch base on the coordinator speaking today. Vic Fangio, Sean Mannion, Michael Clay all spoke today. We got to hear Mannion for the first time. But before we jump into that, Connor, my partner in crime here. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Life is life's busy, but we got to make time for the Eagles. Got to make time for the off season, even though we're going through a bit of the lull of things. The schedule release, I don't even get really excited for anymore. I mean, the schedule was leaked 3.5 hours before it actually came out or was announced on the NFL show. So. I don't get overly excited, but I like to put the predictions out there, even though it doesn't really change as that much where we play teams versus, the teams we're playing that we know of well in advance. So,
well, that doesn't change. The one thing that does change is kind of where the game is, or where in the schedule the game is. Before we jump into that, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJHerwell54 and follow the Eagles Pinpull Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get podcasts at Eagles Pinpull Network. And if you're joining us live, let us know your thoughts on the schedule, your record prediction. Like I mentioned, any games you might be attending. Little G, thanks for joining us. Congratulations to your brother on getting married soon. That's pretty cool. All right, Connor. Before we jump into the schedule, the coordinator spoke today. Fangio, one of the big questions for Fangio was, did he really contemplate retiring? And he said, no, he's got at least 2 years left. I honestly think that maybe the biggest thing that was one of the biggest reasons I would say that he was contemplating retirement, that offense was really bad last year. And I just don't think he had any faith in Patullo to run things. And maybe, even though Sean Mannion's never done it before, and Sean Mannion is a young guy, I mean, only been a coach for a couple of years now, an offensive coordinator, a meteoric rise. Maybe he has more faith in what the offense can do because there's an actual plan. There will be an actual plan. It's not going to be the same, 75% hitch routes. They're going to do a bunch of different things. It's not going to be vanilla. It's not going to be predictable. And I think that might give Fangio new life. And it does help when you have Quinton Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, Jalix Hunt just traded for Jonathan Grenard. You have a lot of young guys on the defensive side of the football. So I think that he kind of just got rejuvenated. Now, maybe it could have just been off speak. And maybe he is going to retire in a year. But he definitely did sound like somebody who kind of felt rejuvenated and spoke differently than he did at the end of last year.
Yeah, I don't know where it's so hard to gauge, where the reporting comes from at the end of the season, but obviously you're going to hear a lot of whispers of things. And obviously people who've worked with Fangio may know, he considers retirement after every year, but rightfully so. He's 66 years old. Like he deserves to consider retirement every year, depending on the state of the defense, the offense, the overall state of the team. And I know that it probably for him would be incredibly hard to walk away from the Eagles organization where Howie Roseman's going to give you a competitive roster and an opportunity almost every year, if not every second year. We've seen some down years, and then he immediately bounces back with some up years and some positive years. So it's tough to say where the reporting came from and if some people overemphasized retirement to the media, and it was just Vic Fangio doing his usual thing, like Lane Johnson, like Landon Dickerson, like some of these other guys who have kind of contemplated retirement or kind of thought about the prospect of it. Every year they're probably thinking about it. Hence the reason restructured contracts, the injuries, healing, so on and so forth. And coaches would generally be the same way. If their minds aren't as sharp, if they're not keeping up with the pace of the NFL, the change of the NFL, should they still be there? And obviously we know Vic Fangio can still do it at one of the highest levels of any of the defensive coordinators in the league. So he's obviously not ready to call it a career. And like you said, he definitely probably is rejuvenated after, spending time with the family, getting to chat with Sean Mannion, getting to see what Howie Roseman did in the draft through free agency, probably looking ahead to what Howie Roseman has in mind for the remainder of the offseason, because we know Howie Roseman ain't done making moves yet.
Oh no, and he always makes moves, even towards training camp. We know that there is one particular move that might be happening that I don't want to happen, but we're not going to touch base on that. That's already been beaten like a dead horse. Go to Michael Clay next. He actually mentioned how he really didn't want to leave the Eagles. This is where he wanted to be. He loves it here. So it was good to get him back. Remember, his first year, we thought that in the special teams was not great, and we thought that was just an awful hire. And he's been here every year with Nick Sirianni. So to keep that continuity in special teams, and hopefully he can figure things out when it comes to Jake Elliott, who I can't believe he's been in the league 10 years. I'm shocked by that, just thinking about it. When I saw that, he's going to be a 10th year vet, it's like, holy crap, time flies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he said all the right things about Jake Elliott. He makes you, want to give Jake Elliott another chance. They didn't really bring in any competition, but they've made it pretty much so that at the end of this year, if he has another down year, it's done. His guaranteed money's over. They can get rid of him. It is what it is. The restructure also made it so if they do see him struggling in the offseason and they do bring in competition, the cap hit is pretty much nullified. They don't gain anything. They don't lose anything. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's still a chance that if they see the struggles persist through the offseason, that maybe they consider competition and kind of put somebody on Jake Elliott's back and try and get him improved that way. But ultimately, for me, Michael Clay's good to have him back. I agree. At the beginning, it was oh no, here we go. We got another flop of a coordinator. And like you said, now he's been here through a lot of things, and special teams seem to remain a constant, because special teams, you move through a lot of bodies because you kind of got to deal with the leftovers of who makes the roster that might be needed offensively or defensively. So there's a lot of turnover on special teams for a lot of teams. So it can't be a very easy job to manage, as a coordinator, especially like Michael Clay, and the situation he gets put in, because you don't want a lot of your really good players like the Eagles start in 22 touching for the most part, any aspect of special teams, because you don't want them on the field more than they need to be. So, but I mean, I think he said the right things about Jake Elliott. He said the right things about wanting to be in Philadelphia. The only reason coordinators really leave Philadelphia is if you failed us very miserably, Kevin Petullo, Brian Johnson, or you did us extremely proud, Kellen Moore, Shane Steichen. So coordinators leave for good reasons, are booted for bad reasons. And if we could, we would keep them around for a very long time. But unfortunately, that's not the reality in such a successful organization like the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're lucky to still have Michael Clay, and that Vic Fangio doesn't want to go anywhere anyways.
As far as we know, we don't. And it does feel like that if he were to go, it's setting up for potentially Clint Hurt to become the next defensive coordinator. I know there was a lot of talk of it being Jim Schwartz, but I mean, Clint Hurt advocated for Uar Bernard, and I don't know if you would make that selection if you didn't think Hurt was going to be here for the long term. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. And then let's move to our offensive coordinator. We got to hear from Sean Mannion for the first time, and he got hired in end of January, I think. 3-4 months later, we finally get to hear him. The first thing I heard, he was very impressive with the way he talked. He had answers for everything. And the one thing I know, you can see the big difference between him and Kevin Petullo. He spoke in front of the media before because he was a starting quarterback at Oregon State. He was a starting quarterback in college at a quote unquote big time D1 school. So he had to be in front of the media. And the one thing I was thinking, Jalen Hurts. Now people keep saying Jalen doesn't want to do this. Jalen doesn't want to do that. I think Jalen wants a reason as to why you're asking him to do something. he doesn't want to do it just to do it. Like there was a quote last year from Patullo, was like, yeah, we ran the ball because we needed to run the ball or something like that. Like that's not an answer. I think Jalen, if you can give Jalen the reasoning, we're doing this because of X, Y, and Z, and you have a plan in place, he's more prone to do something. I think he's gonna respect Mannion more than he respected Patullo. And I hate to use the word respect. I don't want to say he didn't respect Patullo, but he's going to with under center over the middle for Mannion more than Patullo, because Mannion has answers for him. All right, why are we doing this? And he's gonna be like, we're gonna do this because this is gonna happen. This is gonna set up this later. If you remember, the one thing I kept saying last year when Patullo kept calling plays is play one, there was no plan beyond that. He called a play, saw what the result was, and then decided to call a play after that. Like, I'm calling this play because I'm going to set it up for this later. They never did that when Kevin Patullo was the offensive coordinator, and I think you're going to see that with Sean Mannion. Kellen Moore had answers, and that's why Jalen, that's why Jalen respected Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore has called plays before, played quarterback in the NFL in college. And if Jalen asked a question of why we were doing something, Kellen Moore was able to give him an answer and a reasoning behind it. I don't think he got that from Kevin Patullo. So I was very impressed with what he said. He answered every question. Now, obviously, he didn't get the AJ question, which I'm glad that they didn't pepper him with that. But he spoke highly of the offensive line room. He spoke highly of the receiver room. He just spoke highly. He kind of reminded me of Nick Sirianni a little bit in terms of, he talked about how his dad was a high school coach, and and that's one of his big. One of the questions was who kind of you looked up to in the coaching ranks, and he mentioned his dad first, and that's kind of what Nick Sirianni always talks about. So I was very impressed with Sean Mannion. The first time we've got to hear him.
Yeah, in what you were just saying about Jalen Hurts and liking to have an answer for why he's doing something and understand why he's doing something, not that he's unwilling to, brings me back to I think it might have been Tom Brady who used the word cerebral when discussing Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is very cerebral. He's very intelligent. He really wants to understand the setup of everything so that he can not only buy into it, but can succeed in it and find a way to be successful within it. And I find that Sean Mannion spoke extremely highly of that in regards to, he comes to work every day through phase 2 of the offseason, and he's looking for something more to learn, something new to take on in this offense. Sean Mannion said all the right things, making Jalen Hurts look like he's doing all the right things, which I believe Jalen Hurts definitely is. It was Troy Aikman who went on Get Up, what was it, last week? And again, another legend of the game speaking extremely highly of Jalen Hurts. And who are the people who are speaking down to Jalen Hurts? Just the regular old media minds and the local Philadelphia media. Mm-hmm. The legends who've played the game, who know the game, speak so highly of Jalen Hurts and what he can do and the mentality and the physicality that he brings to the game. And I buy into what Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Troy Aikman say any day over Greeny, Stephen A. Smith, whoever you want to name, LaShawn McCoy usually speaks pretty highly of him, but his counterpart there, not always. So, you buy in, you listen to the guys who've played the position and saw success at the position for so many years, and they're all saying Jalen Hurts, it's not that he doesn't want to do these things, but he can do it. They know he can do it, and he's going to buy into this. And we don't have to worry about it as much as some of the local media like to make it out to be, and the national media made it out to be when Sean Mannion was first hired and all that. And yeah, I was impressed with the way Sean Mannion spoke as well. Like, you heard Kevin Patullo speak, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and he was like, he basically said, yeah, me and Nick Sirianni, we built that offense, we built that system. And he was talking like he was right on top of this high horse and like he was trying out for another offensive coordinator job. And the way that Sean Mannion spoke, it's like he's the one who built. Well, he obviously is building this offense, but like he knows this offense. He knows what he's going to do. He's built this. He's got this offense right where he wants it to be and where he needs it to be. And he's got Jalen Hurts. Spoke like he knew Jalen Hurts better than Kevin Patullo ever spoke of Jalen Hurts from when he was announced as the offensive coordinator last offseason all the way up until when the door hit him on the way out. So I was he spoke. I think I used before he came on the air the word eloquent in how he spoke. He spoke very well. He answered the questions, like you said. For the tryout, for the initial tryout with the Philly media, I think it's been a showing. But obviously, if things start to roll, if shit rolls downhill, losses start to pile up or anything, it could be very different how he responds to the media and how the media goes after him.
Yeah, he can say all the right things now, and it'll be interesting when bullets start flying, how he calls plays. If the offense doesn't work, the first 2 weeks of the season, do they go back to old habits? So hopefully we'll see how things go. So it wouldn't shock me if, we normally don't see the offense in preseason. It wouldn't shock me if we saw them in preseason this year. This is a totally new offense. We want to just see them out there, when things are live. I know they're going to have the joint practice with the Patriots, but that's and joint practices are more controlled, but you kind of want to see it in a game action. He's never called plays, so you obviously want to see that in game action. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Sean Mannion, rises, in this offensive coordinator position. But like you mentioned, for session number one, for test number one, he passed with flying colors. All right. We are 114 days away from the Eagles' first game against the Washington Commanders at Lincoln Financial Field. Only the second time under Nick Sirianni that the Eagles have opened at home. Obviously, the first one after the Super Bowl start last year, right? When we faced the Dallas Cowboys. Every other game they've started on the road. And I get it. Temple plays at the Link, and I know Temple has a game against Penn State the day before. So hopefully the Link field isn't all torn up. It'll be awesome when Temple gets out of the Link. A scrub team like that doesn't need to be playing at a 70,000 seat stadium. Initial thoughts before we go game by game. We're going to give our predictions. They do have back-to-back home games. Obviously, during the regular season last year, it didn't happen. Now they had it week 18 and then the first round of the playoffs. They face 4 teams coming off the bye, including the Panthers, after the Eagles are in London. So their rest disparity is second worst in the league, behind the Chargers. And who has I think a top 5 rest disparity? The Dallas Cowboys. Shocker. The NFL obviously giving them all the breaks in the world. And the Eagles have 8 standalone games, which obviously isn't surprising. The Eagles are a marketable team. They have marketable players. This is a marketable fan base. So the NFL wants to get them in prime time, get them as the only game in town as much as possible. What were your initial thoughts on the schedule comments?
Yeah, the being the standalone team for nearly half of our games doesn't surprise me, never surprises me. Look at how the offseason has rolled. We've been you can call it the punching bag of media since literally the Super Bowl, like a couple days after the Super Bowl, when the media shifted towards the offseason. We immediately became the focus because there's always something happening in Philadelphia. There's always drama. There's always reports coming out, especially during that week of, clear out, exit interviews, whatever you want to call it, when they clean up their lockers and stuff. So obviously, with the offseason that we had and the AJ Brown rumors and everything still swirling, we're going to be the focal point of standalone games. And my initial reaction is the Dallas Cowboys are not America's team. The Philadelphia Eagles are America's team. And whether that be because of the media or whether that be because of the rabid fan base. And, you look at a lot of the games that we played in last year, a lot of the games like broke records. There's 3 or 4 occasions where you can point to where viewership records were broken, where we were the standalone game, or where we were in a specific playoff game, or so on and so forth. So obviously, the NFL knows where their money makers are at, and not to say the Cowboys don't make money, but the Eagles definitely make a lot of money and make a lot of ratings. So that was no surprise. The rest disparity, I mean, you automatically know you're probably most at a lack of benefit when you opt not to take the bye week after the trip to London, whereas most teams usually do take the bye week after that overseas trip. And I think the Eagles are the only team who didn't, and one of the only teams who has ever opted not to do it. So that rest disparity, we'll see if it comes into play or is against us. But otherwise, it's your typical Eagles schedule. The NFL schedule makers don't like to do the Eagles any favors or any justice, and compared to some other teams.
Yeah, and before we jump into it, the NFL did just up the amount of international games to 10, I believe it is now. And they're working their way to 16. They want every team to play overseas or to play internationally. They're even talking about playing in Japan. So, like, the NFL, like, it's the most popular sport in America. They want to make it a worldwide sport. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Like, soccer, the NBA, I mean, like basketball. The NBA, like, nobody likes the NBA in America, but like worldwide, a lot of people like it. But the NFL, like, they know it's a moneymaker in America. And if they can make the money overseas, internationally, they're going to do that. Like you mentioned, the schedule, while they may have I think either 7th or 10th easiest schedule, obviously things are going to change once once the season goes on, we figure out what teams are good, what teams aren't good. So we're going to go through this game by game, give a quick snippet about the game and give our prediction. So the season opener, 114 days away, 4:25 kickoff at home, Washington Commanders. The last time the Eagles opened up against Washington, I think, was 2019, Deshaun Jackson's return. He had 2 long touchdowns from Carson Wentz, and the Eagles won that game, if I'm not mistaken. I have the Eagles defeating the Washington Commanders. It's going to be a slow start because obviously the offense is going to have to kind of work out the kinks, but I think the defense is going to be flying around. I know the NFL probably wanted to get the Eagles and Commanders together early this year, unlike last year when they played 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. Jaden Daniels was out. Let's see Jaden Daniels against the Eagles. I have the Eagles opening up the season with a victory over the Commanders.
Yeah, I would say the NFL got lucky last year with regards to Jaden Daniels being hurt at the end of the season, because that was one of the things I think we pointed out at last year's schedule release was how could you put the Commanders there after the season that they had and the season that the rookie season Jaden Daniels had and stuff. So I have the Eagles beating the Commanders as well. I will kind of preview it by saying I have them splitting with the Commanders this year. So I have us losing our next game against Washington Commanders, assuming health stays on the Commanders side this year versus last year and how it ended up playing out for them. But yeah, I got the Eagles 1-0 as well.
I actually have them splitting with the Commanders as well too. So the Sunday night football game in week 8 in Landover, Maryland, I also have Eagles falling. Week 2 in Tennessee, that's the game I'm going to be going to. I'm looking forward to going to Nashville. 1 year away from their new stadium, but it'll be nice to see. Again, I like me and my pops like to travel. Went to Dallas a couple years ago. Went to Minnesota last year. So Nashville this year. Hopefully Buffalo next year if that game's not in December. Hopefully, but I get it. New coaching staff. Robert Saleh is the head coach. Brian Dable is the offensive coordinator. You expect them to be better than they were last year, but early in the season, I think the Eagles are going to be able to get after Cam Ward. I have them beating the Titans to go to 2-0.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, the Titans are taking a step in the right direction, but I don't think they have all the pieces there to take that, new coaching staff, new head coach, massive leap forward in year 1. But I can see year 2, year 3, Tennessee moving into the new stadium, things really starting to trend in the right direction for them. But I have the Eagles beating the Titans as well.
All right, so we're both 2-0. Week 3, Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. One of the losses, the Eagles lost to the Bears last year on Black Friday. What is your result for that game, Connor?
This is where I bounce back and forth. I think we lose against the Bears or the Rams, but I have us beating the Bears initially in my schedule prediction here. But I do think of these next week 3 and week 4 matchups, we lose one of them. But at this time, I have us starting out 3-0. And I really want to see how the Chicago Bears do this year. Are they going to be the cardiac Bears or whatever they were called again this year? Because I don't think that they can sustain the way they were getting wins last year again this year. And we've seen this happen before with teams where one year they're winning so many of these one possession games. Like I think the Kansas City Chiefs are one of the worst teams with regards to one possession losses this past year. And you can probably imagine that's going to flip as well. So will the Bears be able to sustain that type of play, or will they have Caleb Williams set up for a even better launch in year 2 with Ben Johnson, where they're not so much the cardiac Bears? But for the now, I have a 3-0 start for the Eagles.
I actually have the Eagles falling to the Bears, and I do think the Bears are going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to be as good, mainly because I think Detroit's going to be better. The Packers should be better. Minnesota maybe. But the Bears are playing a first place schedule this year as well. So I think they're going to take a step back, but I think Monday Night Football, the Eagles are going to fall in Chicago. It'll be a close game, but the Eagles are going to. So I have the Eagles at 2-1 so far, and you have them at 3-0. Week 4 against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm shocked that this is a 1:00 game. I thought that this is either prime time, 4:25, America's game of the week. They made it 1:00 again, and I believe last year's game was week 4, 1:00. Jordan Davis with the block field goal return for a touchdown to help the Eagles secure that victory against the Rams. So you said that you had these being split. So you think the Rams are going to beat the Eagles this time around?
Yeah, I have the Rams winning this one, but I can see the Bears and the Rams game going either way. They're going to be 3-1, but those were the 2 games where I was really tossing up between them. But I have the Rams beating us. The Rams and the 49ers love getting the Eagles in the regular season because it's their Super Bowl. They want to win it so bad. And I see that the Rams may do that. And I think they will be doing it.
I have the Eagles winning this game. The Eagles have McVay's number. Now, McVay beat the Eagles in the COVID year, but that's the only victory that McVay has over the Eagles since he has been the head coach with the Rams. I think the Eagles are going to find a way to slow down MVP Matt Stafford. Puka Nacua. I mean, obviously we talk about Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reek Woolen knows them because of his time with Seattle. That it's going to be mirroring offenses potentially, but I think the Eagles are going to come away with the victory. Week 5, the Eagles travel to London, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm going to love waking up early in the morning to be able to watch Eagles football. This will be the second time the Eagles have faced the Jaguars in London. I have the Eagles defeating Jacksonville to improve to 4-1 over the first 5 games of the year.
Yeah, I struggled to get a real gauge on what I think Jacksonville will be this year. Like I really, they're one of my teams where it's a toss up to me. They could do fairly well, or they could end up being, 8 and 9, just falling sub 500. But I have the Eagles beating the Jaguars as well.
Then, yeah, and I also think Jacksonville's going to take a step back too. First year under Liam Cohen. I do think they're going to take a step back. We'll see though. I mean, they lost Travis Etienne, and they may trade Brian Thomas. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I am looking forward. It should be a good matchup. Week 6, the Eagles do not get a bye week. They return home against the Carolina Panthers, and then, this is the quirk in the schedule for this year. Whatever position you finish in, that's who you face in the other teams in the conference. Carolina might not be the best team in the NFC South. They won the division. It could be Tampa. It could be the Saints, maybe. I mean, the Saints weren't that bad last year. And why am I blanking on who's the other team in the
Falcons?
The Falcons.
I think we can. I don't think the Falcons will be. I think it's a three-way race, but not the Falcons.
So I think the Eagles may have gotten maybe the second or third best team in the NFC South. I know it's a tough turnaround. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be closer than people think, but I have the Eagles defeating the Panthers.
Yeah, I have this being that game where people are going to overreact to the loss, and I have them losing to the Panthers. I just don't. I hate the idea of them not taking the bye, but I get why they didn't, because they don't want the early bye. We've seen the Eagles definitely take advantage of having a later bye or the opportunity to be able to rest their players and help them get over injuries and stuff, and taking the later bye usually comes out as the advantageous thing for the Eagles to do. We've seen the early bye definitely not be a benefactor for the Eagles, but I do think that this is going to be that game that's just going to really frustrate fans. There's one of them every year, and this just feels like that game.
So you have the Eagles losing to the Panthers. So you have them at 5-2 after 7. I have them at 6-1. Or excuse me, you have 4-2. I have 5-1 after 6 weeks. Week 7, Monday Night Football at home, Dallas Cowboys. Wouldn't shock me if we see the Kelly Greens this night. What is your prediction for this game, Connor?
Again, I will say I have the Eagles split in the season series with the Cowboys.
Me too.
And I have them winning this matchup. This feels like that primetime matchup at the Link. Like you said, Kelly Green. I always feel more confident that the Eagles, when the Eagles and Cowboys play, the Cowboys are usually going to take the game in Dallas, and the Eagles usually take the game in Philadelphia. Just the hype behind the week, the hype behind the matchup, and getting to take advantage of it at your own home field just feels like just such an advantage for each of those teams.
Yeah. Even though the Eagles were up 21-0 last year and should have won that game, but didn't. So right now I have the Eagles at 6-1. You have the Eagles at 5-2. Then week 8 at the Commanders, Sunday Night Football. We both have Washington coming away with the victory, coming away with the victory there. So I have the Eagles at 6-2. You have the Eagles at 5-3. As we head into week 9, this is the third of 3 consecutive division games. The first time against John Harbaugh and as the head coach of the Giants. I have the Eagles coming away with the victory. It's going to take time. Well, are the Giants going to be better? You would think they will be, but they're still the Giants. And is Harbaugh Harbaugh had a better team with Baltimore? How is he how much are things going to change with the Giants? Is he going to be able to take that big massive leap with them? He wasn't able to win much in the playoffs with Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. Is he gonna be able to do it with Jackson Dart? So I have the Eagles beating the Giants.
Yeah, I have the Eagles beating the Giants in this matchup as well, and I tend to agree with you. I don't think things are going to happen overnight in New York, despite the one of the top hires or taking one of the top hires from consideration of among head coaches in John Harbaugh. I don't like the team. I don't think they're there. I think there's still a lot of holes. There's still a lot to desire. Could they surprise and maybe get to 9-8, 10-7? Maybe. It would be a stretch to think they could get there. But I wouldn't be surprised, if they're an 8 or 9 team, 7-10 team, and it's not. There's no reason to scoff or not be happy with that outcome for the New York Giants. I just think that the New York Giants are a little overrated based on the look of their roster at this present time.
Yeah, a lot of teams, people are talking them up just because of who the head coach is.
Exactly.
So Joe Shane is the GM. I don't think now they have a lot of weapons on that defense. They can get after the quarterback, but can they cover people? Can they tackle people? That's going to be the big question. So we'll be interested to see. So going into the week 10 bye, middle of the year, probably the best time to have it.
And just saying, if Tomlin wants to come back next year and I was the Giants, I would have waited for Tomlin. I prefer Tomlin to Harbaugh, just saying. But
I think Tomlin will come back next year. I really love Mike Tomlin. I would love for him to be the coach.
I don't think he's coming to Philly.
Well, I don't think so either, because if anything, I think Sean Mannion will be the next head coach if The offense, if he's able to turn and we'll talk about this obviously throughout the summer as we head to the regular season, if he's able to turn the offense around and people want to interview him for head coaching spots, depending on how the season goes, it wouldn't shock me if, Laurie and Roseman make the decision to, get rid of Sirianni and promote Mannion. Big thing could be, do they do what the Celtics did with Brad Stevens and move Sirianni into a front office spot if he doesn't want to, if maybe he loves it here so much and he got a Super Bowl, he's been to a couple, maybe he doesn't want to go through that grinding of head coaching and go to front office. Well, that'll be something that obviously we'll discuss down the road. All right, so week 10 is the bye. I have the Eagles at 7-2. You have Connor has the Eagles at 6-3. As we head into week 11, at home, Pittsburgh Steelers 425. Aaron Rodgers' final game against the Eagles, as this is his final season. He is retiring. Mike McCarthy, the new head coach. Not going to matter. I have the Eagles defeating the Steelers to improve to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-2.
Yeah, I have the Eagles over the Steelers in this one. I can't buy into the Mike McCarthy thing. I'm so far gone from the Aaron Rodgers and being bought into the Aaron Rodgers being able to bring you a championship thing, especially with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. It's the same old song and dance with the Steelers. They're gonna probably be 9-8, maybe get to 10-7. Limp into
Mike Tomlin. That's not a Steelers thing. That was a Mike Tomlin thing.
I know it was a Mike Tomlin thing, but I still feel like it's going to be the same. Although that AFC North looks like everybody got significantly better, where the Steelers stayed average or stayed the same, arguably. So, I mean, I could see them getting to 9-8, but I can see them being 8-9 as well. I just think Mike McCarthy was the wrong hire. Aaron Rodgers, basically holding them hostage up until this point and then saying, I'm coming back for one final farewell tour. And you're stuck with Aaron Rodgers again and still no real future answer at the quarterback position. I don't envy Pittsburgh Steelers fans.
Yeah, and they still could potentially trade, Herbig and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. But again, they're going to take a step back. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. Thanksgiving, the Eagles are coming off of a short week. They go to Dallas to play the Cowboys. We both have Dallas picking up the victory, as these teams normally split. Your thoughts on the game? Are you shocked that they made this a Thanksgiving game? The ratings last year for the Cowboys and Chiefs were bonkers, and I think that the NFL wanted to surpass that with this matchup.
Oh, I think that this is by far the best Thanksgiving day of games ever. Like, even with they have the Thanksgiving Eve, they're creating their own
that's insane
NFL holiday, the Thanksgiving Eve and the Thanksgiving. I think it's just overall they realize, like, if we're going to take over Thanksgiving, if we're going to own Thanksgiving, we got to really own it. And like you said, that Chiefs and Cowboys game was absolutely meteoric from a ratings standpoint. I think this year they're going to see their last year's Thanksgiving numbers blown out of the water again. That was my initial reaction. I was like, best Thanksgiving yet for the NFL. They were trending better and better and getting some better games at the beginning. Remember, it was always like these sub 500 garbage teams. You always had Dallas there, you always had Detroit there, but it was back when they really weren't that good. And you had to suffer through games where they also played a sub 500 team. But they figured it out. If we're going to own these days, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, we got to own these days. And I love the schedule this year. It's going to make watching football on Thanksgiving very, very enjoyable. It's not my Thanksgiving, but for your guys' Thanksgiving, it's going to make it very enjoyable. Like
Thanksgiving anyway. I think Thanksgiving's an overrated holiday, so I'm fine with sitting in front of a TV, ordering some wings and pizza and watching TV instead of eating turkey and watching the football games. Week 13, the Eagles travel to Arizona, so back-to-back road games. At least they have an extended break here going up against Mike LaFleur. Maybe Carson Beck will be the quarterback for the Cardinals at this time. They have Jeremiah Love, Marvin Harrison. The offense might be able to do some stuff, but I think the Eagles are going to easily come away with the victory against Arizona.
Yeah, the Cardinals to me are still in a rebuild. I hated the Jeremiah Love pick. I mean, you're not a running back away. You're not 2 to 3 years away based on the pick that you made with Jeremiah Love. So I have the Eagles over the Cardinals as well.
Then they return home to face the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones, Shane Steichen returning back to Philly. What's your prediction for this game, Connor?
I have the Eagles beating the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, Daniel Jones should be back by this point. How many weeks back from injury will he truly be? Because the injury did happen, it was December, January of last year. So he'll be 12 months removed from his injury. And will the Colts, do they continue to ride the wave that Daniel Jones was giving them? I don't know. The Colts are another team that I have a hard time really gauging. I'm not going to ever count them out because Shane Steichen's a very good coach. They have a solid offensive line. They have, Jonathan Taylor. They have some pieces in place to make a run and be a competitive team. But I have the Eagles over the Colts for this one.
I also have the Eagles over the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, he's really good, but I don't think that the Colts are going to be in a playoff position come this time of year. And I think the Eagles are going to be able to come away with the victory. Then for the sandwich of their 3 consecutive home games, the Eagles have a short week and they host the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks at 5:00 on Saturday night, the week before Christmas. What is your prediction, Connor?
I have the Eagles losing this game against Seattle. But my thing is this. I have them losing either the Seattle game or the San Fran game. I picked the Seattle game, but I can see this flip-flopping like earlier in the schedule where I said the Bears and Rams. We're not winning both. I don't think we're winning both the Seattle and the San Fran game. So I pick that we're losing against the Seahawks. I just think the Seahawks are, while I think they may take a step back just because people have seen them, there's a lot more tape on them. Maybe there's a chance to figure them out a little bit more.
Sam Darnold also think is going to take a step back.
Exactly. And it's Sam Darnold. There's an expected regression at some point from Sam Darnold in my opinion. But I still see Seattle as the better team than the 49ers and that they still have that they will take advantage of this and win this matchup.
Yeah, I also have Seattle coming away with the victory here. And the Eagles, I don't know what it is now. It was Pete Carroll when he was the head coach, but the Eagles struggle with Seattle. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And this is another tough run of the defenses. Seattle, Houston, San Francisco, really tough defenses. Then the Eagles play on Christmas Eve. What are your thoughts? There's been a lot of complaining about the Eagles having to play on Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. What are your thoughts? Do you care? Does it matter to you? It doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't like Thanksgiving. Again, I think it's an overrated holiday. Christmas Eve, what the hell? What else am I going to do on Christmas Eve? I don't care. I'm going to watch Eagles football. I don't have kids. Maybe it would be different if I had kids. Maybe.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I have kids who are going to be up very early, and this is a 9:15 game where I am. So this makes it very difficult for me because I'm going to be up till about 12:30 and then up at like 5:30 the next day.
Put out presents and all that mess. I do have the Eagles defeating the Texans. It's going to be a tough game, but 2 really good defenses. I'm not sold on CJ Stroud, so I have the Eagles coming away with a victory here.
Yeah, and further kind of reaction to it, we were going to probably end up Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That was probably the reality everywhere. We spoke about it at the start of the episode. We're the moneymaker. We're the ratings hog for one of the top ratings hogs in the NFL. Of course, we're going to be there on the days where the NFL is trying to take over and Christmas Day up against the NBA. They want to own it. Of course, the Eagles are going to be there. And I think that we should get used to the reality that we're likely going to be there on these holidays or on these very specific special occasions more often than not for that reason. It's purely financial and ratings. So I have the Eagles over the Texans as well. Their defense is amazing. I'm bought into D'Amico Ryans. I'm bought into that defense. I am not bought into CJ Stroud like you. I'm not bought into that offense. The regression was rough to watch for the Houston Texans offense. I don't know if it's stays that bad, but I don't think it gets back to CJ Stroud year 2 level. I think that was the outlier for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense. But somewhere's in the middle can be expected, and somewhere's in the middle for them with that defense is going to win them a decent amount of games. But up against a good defense like Vic Fangio and the Philadelphia Eagles, I just don't think that's one the Texans get.
Then we move to week 17. We finished the season off with back-to-back road games, a mini bye heading into Sunday night football against the San Francisco 49ers. One thing I did forget to mention about the schedule, after the London game, Eagles don't get on a plane again until Thanksgiving. So at home against the Panthers, at home against the Cowboys, train ride to face the Commanders, at home against the Giants, bye week, at home against the Steelers. So that kind of helps them in terms of the whole like jumping on a plane to fly somewhere after a long road trip to London. So maybe the schedule makers are like, hey, we helped you out there. Don't know how much that is, but it is nice not having to get on a plane, especially when like after that Steelers game, you have to go to Dallas, you have to go to Arizona, you have to go to San Francisco to end the year.
I think we traveled the ninth most miles in the NFL. We're nowhere as close to like 1 and 2. I think was San Fran and somebody else's massive mileage. So we do have that benefactor, I guess, is that we don't travel as much as we could be.
So San Francisco, week 17, Sunday Night Football. You would expect San Francisco to be healthy, maybe. Who knows? If they're healthy, I mean, they're a good team. Obviously, they beat us in the playoffs last year with the wounded defense that they had, but that was with Patullo calling plays. So we would expect that to be better on ours. And who do you have winning this game, Connor?
This was, like I said, or with the Seattle game, I don't think they're taking both of these games. So I have us beating San Francisco, but I can easily see us a world where we beat Seattle and lose to San Francisco. But at the same time, having San Francisco this late in the season is the perfect reason for the 49ers to wave around excuses of injury, because the 49ers are never fully healthy, but you can never count out a Kyle Shanahan led team.
Yeah, you definitely can't. He'll find a way to put enough points on the board if necessary. We'll see what's, like you said, we'll see what's up with their defense. See if they can stay healthy. Fred Warner. What they do on the offensive side of the football, they obviously have Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. What they do at the receiver position. I have San Francisco winning this game. So going into week 18, I have the Eagles at 11-5. You have the Eagles at 11-5 as we end the season in Jersey against the Giants. I have the Eagles sweeping the Giants, finishing the season 12-5. Obviously, depending on what happens with the Giants season, this could be a Saturday night game. This could be a Sunday night game. I expect this not to matter at all. I don't think the Giants are going to be that good. I think this is going to be a Sunday 1 o'clock game, Sunday 4 o'clock game. But I have the Eagles winning and finishing the season 12-5.
I have the Eagles losing. I think that this is ultimately going to end up being a game that doesn't matter, and we are going to see the backups. I mean, in previous years, we've seen the backups do their damage against the Giants. But like I said, I don't think the Giants will be playing for anything. I don't think they'll be a wild card team, not in this NFC. And I don't, obviously they're not competing for the NFC's title. I mean, I'd be absolutely flabbergasted if that even was within the realm of discussion anywheres this offseason. But I do have the Eagles losing. I think, obviously, all things considered, I think the Eagles finish 11-6, and obviously I'm not going to be perfect. There's probably a game or two that are going to be different. So we may get this Giants win and we lose to the 49ers and the Seahawks instead of taking one of the two. Obviously, this is extremely hard to predict, especially this early out, but I do see 11-6 being an extremely realistic outcome for the season for the Philadelphia Eagles based on, installing a new offense, and stuff with Sean Mannion and how it could be a slow start to the season and stuff for the Philadelphia Eagles. But 11-6, I still think also based on the Dallas Cowboys schedule, who I think they have one of the harder schedules, if I'm not mistaken, things could become a little more challenging for them to get to 11-6 and take the NFC East. But of course, right now you're looking at it as strength of schedule. So based on win percentage last year or implied wins. So no matter how you do it, it's very much a guessing game. And until teams start getting out there on the football field, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. I have the Eagles at 12-5. Who do you think is going to? How do you think the division ranks? So I have the Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, and Giants. What are your thoughts?
I have them the same way. I don't think that there's. The Commanders are doing some good. I just can't buy into the Commanders. Like I remember in episodes, 2 years ago during the Jaden Daniels rookie season, I think I was bought in and I was saying that they were underrated and they ended up having that great season. And now I just can't get bought into it. They take steps forward in some regards and then steps back in some regards. It doesn't ever feel like they're moving forward, both as offensive and defensive units together, and that they can sustain, a solid wild card or NFC East win and run. I can't buy into it. And then being better than the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Quinn is that great of a coach, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, they are a younger team. I got the hiccups now, damn it.
And we sound like Giants haters. I think that give it a couple years, but I don't have
faith in Jackson Dart.
No, I don't have faith in Jackson Dart. That offense still, like, Neighbors is coming back from a major injury. He had to have a second surgery on the knee. They brought in Isaiah Likely for a massive sum of money, but really he's going to end up having to be a wide receiver too, because you don't really have much for a wide receiver two out there after Malik Neighbors. They didn't do much in the running back room, and Cam Scatteraboo is coming off the horrific injury that he came off of. There's just so much not to like to think that they can sustain putting up a respectable amount of points, especially against a lot of some of the defenses that they're going to end up coming across.
Yeah, did you hear Scatteraboo say he thinks he can run for 2,000 yards?
Listen, the man's wild. The man's nuts. What can you say?
So, 12-5. 12-5. Connor has the Eagles at 11-6. We are going to do this again before the season starts. We're going to do kind of go through each division, not go game by game, obviously, but give our division winners, playoff matchups winners, Super Bowl winners, and we'll do that. Sometime in August. Our next show, we are going to do
breaking news. The Eagles just gave Joe Shane a multi-year contract extension. That's
who?
Their GM.
No, you said the Eagles gave Joe Shane.
Oh, no, the Giants. Sorry, Giants. The Giants are giving Joe Shane a which is crazy because I think he really needed to prove himself with the product on the field this year before an extension. But I mean, all power to him. I don't think that Joe Shane's is doing a very good job. So
the Giants are just going to always be in that position.
The 3 or 4 seed. They lock them in 3-4 seed in the NFC East.
They will, and whatever, more power to them. All right, so our next show, we're going to do our way too early 53-man roster. Do we want to wait until after June 1st to do that, or we want to do that next week?
I guess we could see what rolls out after June 1st. Maybe we'll take the week off, see what happens post June 1st.
I will say that I am going on vacation from the 6th to the 13th, so we can do it after I get back. I won't have any computers and crap with me, so yeah. So
we'll consider this very heavily.
We'll figure it out. Give our Twitter a follow, and Connor does a great job of keeping that updated. So as always, thank you all for tuning into the Kelly Green Hour. Follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJRaw54, and follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.